I always thought the real betrayals would come with shouting, shattered dishes, maybe a door slammed hard enough to echo for hours. I didn't expect it to start with a birthday cake. Her birthday. She turned 32 and I went all out. Reservation at her favorite French place downtown. A gold necklace shaped like a crescent moon. Symbolic of something she once told me when we were still in love. Something about how she felt safer under the moonlight than sunlight. I remembered it. I shouldn't have. That night, she looked the part. Perfect. Slit dress, sharp heels, perfume that cost more than a week's groceries. She smiled the way actresses do, wide enough to impress, never long enough to be real. I didn't see it then. I saw it the next morning. Or more precisely, I heard it. She left her laptop open. I wasn't trying to dig, but the alert popped while I was pouring coffee. A message. Not from a man. From a woman named Allie. I recognized the name, her coworker. I clicked it. Thought it was harmless. But what I read, I'll never scrub that from my brain. You really gonna keep it? He'll know it's not his eventually. You don't even look scared. You're crazy. That word. Keep it. I sat down. I didn't move for 20 minutes. Just scrolled. Messages between her and Allie going back months. Screenshots. Jokes. And then photos. She in a car, her head on someone's shoulder. A man. Couldn't see the face, but the angle said everything. No friend takes that kind of picture. Then more texts. He thinks I'm still ovulating. Can't believe it only took one night with Kay. He's so clueless. I could tell him the baby was God's and he'd probably offer to raise it anyway. I can't tell you what it feels like to be erased in your own life. It's not anger. It's like being suffocated by silence. Even when everything is loud. The fridge was buzzing. My dog barked. A siren wailed somewhere outside. I couldn't hear any of it. When she came home that night, I didn't speak. Not at first. I watched her walk through the door like she belonged here. Hung up her coat. Kicked off her shoes. She didn't look like a woman hiding something. That was the scariest part. She looked like my wife. I read your messages, I said. My voice cracked. She didn't flinch. Didn't even blink. Okay, she replied and moved toward the kitchen. I followed. That's all you have to say? She turned slowly, like she was exhausted from pretending. What do you want me to say? You read it. I don't have to explain now, do I? I stood there, choking on the unfamiliar venom in her voice. Is it his? She gave the smallest smirk. Of course it is. You think I'd lie and tell you it's yours when I'm already 5 months in and you can't count. It wasn't the betrayal that killed me. It was the indifference. She didn't cry. She didn't plead. She looked at me like I was the one who'd disappointed her. Then she had the nerve to pour herself a glass of juice, sip it and say, but I thought maybe you'd still be mature enough to raise it. I mean, it's not that different, is it? You always said you wanted to be a dad. The next words just came out of me. I'm not signing the certificate. She blinked, like I'd spoken in tongues. Then she laughed, cold and sudden and way too loud for the room. You're serious? You won't claim it. It's not mine. She walked past me, brushing my shoulder like I wasn't standing there, and muttered. Then you better call a lawyer, because I'm not leaving without child support. Let's see if a judge agrees. I didn't sleep that night, not even a second. She went to bed, slept like the dead. And me? I sat in the kitchen until sunrise, staring at that empty gold necklace box, still on the table. The gift I gave her. The one I chose because I thought it meant something. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war. The next morning didn't begin. It landed like a car crash. She made eggs, toasted bread, as if we weren't 2 continents apart emotionally. As if she hadn't confessed to carrying another man's child and suggested I play along. She even hummed while the toaster clicked. I sat across from her at the table, untouched coffee in front of me, waiting for her to say something. Anything. She didn't, so I broke the silence. Whose is it? I asked, keeping my voice low. She rolled her eyes. Jesus, you really want the details now? You're not going to like them. I don't care if I like them. I want the truth. She leaned back in her chair, like she was giving an interview for a job she didn't need. Kellen. He's a project manager. We met last year at that retreat in Phoenix. Remember? The one you were too busy to come to. I remembered. I'd stayed home to help my dad recover from surgery. I cooked for him, changed his dressings. She'd FaceTimed once from a hotel balcony with fake palm trees in the background. He was there too, she went on, chewing slowly. It just happened. And then again, and again, and again. There was a pause. Then she looked me dead in the eyes. I didn't plan to get pregnant. But once I knew, I made peace with it. I nodded slowly. Peace. So where does that leave me? Wherever you want, she said with a shrug. Out if you need to be. I just thought you'd be adult enough to step up. Clearly, I was wrong. There was no guilt, no fear. She spoke like someone who had already rewritten the story with herself as the victim. That's when I realized this wasn't a mistake. It was a plan. I left the table and went straight to the spare room, my new bedroom, apparently. Locked the door behind me. That afternoon, I made calls. A lawyer, my brother, even my boss. Told them I needed some time off, gave no details. The lawyer was blunt. If you're still legally married when the child's born, you could be presumed the father. You'll need to fight it if you don't want that on your record. So she wasn't just trying to trap me emotionally. Legally too. At 8 p.m., she knocked on the door. We need to talk. I opened it but said nothing. I talked to Kellen, she said calmly. He doesn't want the kid. Says he's not ready for the baggage. So, I guess it's just me. And I thought, well, maybe you'd want to help. For old time's sake. For what we had. I stepped out and shut the door behind me. Let me make this real clear for you, I said, voice low but firm. I'm not raising his kid. I'm not claiming it. I'm not putting my name anywhere near that birth certificate. You wanted freedom? Congratulations. You have it. But you do not get to assign me the role of father out of convenience. She didn't argue. She smiled. You'll come around. You always do. That night, I started recording everything. Calls. Conversations. I wasn't going to be outsmarted by someone who thought manipulation was a skill, because now I knew her secret. But she didn't know mine. 3 days passed without another word about the baby. No fights. No accusations. Just eerie politeness. She started texting constantly, hiding in the bathroom with the door locked, laughing behind it like she didn't have a husband on the other side building his escape plan. I'd moved into the guest room, but that wasn't enough distance. I wanted out. Physically, mentally, legally. But I needed to play it smart. Too much was on the line. Our finances were tangled. Our house was in both names. And if I made one wrong move, she'd twist it into abandonment or worse, emotional cruelty. I knew how she operated now. Calm lies, calculated cruelty, smiles that cut. So I flipped the script. I started acting like I believed her. On the 4th night, I made dinner. Chicken parmesan. Lit a candle. She looked at me like I'd lost my mind. What's this? She asked. A peace offering, I said. She narrowed her eyes but sat down. Halfway through the meal, she was laughing again. You're being weird. Just tired of fighting. Her expression softened. I knew it was fake, but still, watching her mask shift in real time felt like dissecting a predator. Then, as she finished her wine, she leaned forward and said, maybe we can co-parent, you know, like adults. No lawyers. No drama. That was it. Confirmation. She had no intention of telling Kellen or anyone that I wasn't the father. She just needed me to say it first. She wanted me to surrender, but I didn't. Instead, I started collecting. I copied her texts from the laptop, screenshotted everything. I sent it all to a burner email I set up in a coffee shop across town. I wasn't just protecting myself, I was documenting. And then came the real gift. She forgot to log out of her iCloud on the old iPad we kept in the living room. I opened it. That's when I saw the video. Not a scandalous one. Just her and Kellen in a hotel room, talking. She was laughing, lying on a bed, saying, he's got no idea. You should have seen his face when I told him I was pregnant. I almost laughed right there. He said, you think he'll raise it? She answered, he will. He's weak. He always wants to be the hero. I watched that clip 10 times. Memorized every flicker of amusement in her eyes. It was never a slip-up. It was a strategy. The next morning, I played the video in front of her. I didn't say a word. She went pale. Actually pale. The kind of pale that happens when someone realizes they've been outplayed. Where did you get that? She whispered. I turned the screen off. Doesn't matter. What are you gonna do with it? I smiled for the first time in weeks. I'm going to make sure no court in the country puts me on the hook for your mistake. She lunged forward, tried to grab the iPad. I stepped back. This is blackmail, she hissed. No, I said calmly. This is insurance. Because when you start lying in court, which you will, I'll be ready. She stood there, shaking, furious, exposed. You think this is over? She spat. Oh, I said. It hasn't even started. The following week was a silent war zone. No words, just doors that shut harder than they needed to, glances that held too long, footsteps that paused too close to my room at night. She didn't threaten me directly. She didn't need to. Every movement dripped with unspoken warnings, a quiet promise. If you ruin this, I'll ruin you back. But I wasn't scared. I was ready. I met with my lawyer in person this time. Sat in a cold office surrounded by legal pads and photo frames of degrees. I laid it all out, video, texts, the timeline, the manipulation. He didn't even blink. You've got leverage, he said. But be careful. Women like her, when they lose control, they don't fall quietly. He was right. The very next day, she flipped the script again. I got home from work, opened the door, and there it was. A tiny white onesie on the kitchen table. Printed across the chest in golden lettering, Daddy's little star. She walked in from the hallway, casual, as if this was the most natural thing in the world. I thought we could talk, she said. I ignored the onesie. About what? She leaned on the counter. I've been thinking, maybe you were right. Maybe this wasn't fair to you. That threw me. For a second. She'd never admitted fault. Not once. But then she added, but you're still my husband. And this child would have a better life with you in it than out of it. There it was. Not remorse. Calculation. I gave her nothing. No nod, no response. She stepped closer. I mean, what's one mistake? It doesn't erase everything we had. You said you wanted a family, right? So maybe it's just a different version of the plan. I looked at her. Truly looked. She wasn't hoping I'd forgive her. She was betting I'd break first. Betting on the same guilt and loyalty that kept me in the marriage even when the love had gone cold. And part of me, God help me, wanted to believe it, just to make the nightmare stop. But I remembered the video, the laughter, the way she told another man I was weak. I'm filing, I said. Her expression didn't change, not right away. But her eyes did, just for a second. A twitch, shock, disbelief, maybe fear. Then she laughed. You think it'll be that easy? She asked. You're not walking away clean, no matter how many screenshots you saved. You think people won't believe me? You think judges care about your little tech tricks? I've seen worse liars win custody battles. And I'm not even lying. You're carrying another man's child and trying to stick me with it. I'm your wife. Not for long. That was the first time she slapped me. Not hard. Not dramatic. Just a sharp crack of skin on skin. Fast and sudden. Stunned me more than hurt. She looked shocked that she did it too. Covered her mouth like it had happened on its own. Then she whispered, You're not the man I married. I stepped back, voice even. No. He died the day you laughed about me to your lover. She didn't chase me. She didn't cry. She just stared at me like she was recalculating everything. Like a machine rerouting after crashing into a wall. I walked out, got in the car, parked 3 blocks down and called her mother. Her mom had always liked me. Maybe too much. I told her everything. Left nothing out. And for a moment there was just silence on the other end. Then, you stay right there. I'm coming. That was the first move in phase 2. Because now it wasn't just her and me. Now her own family was about to hear the truth. Her mother arrived that evening. Trench coat soaked from the rain. Hair tied back in a rush. She barely looked at me as she walked past, straight into the house. I followed, wordless. Adrenaline buzzing under my skin like electricity. They hadn't seen each other in months. Some vague fallout over a Christmas argument I hadn't been allowed to attend. But tonight, the frost between them thawed instantly. Mother and daughter united by threat. Me. I stayed quiet in the hallway out of view while they talked in the living room. You invited him into this? She said, voice tight with panic. You didn't tell me it had gotten this bad. Her mother whispered back. But I could still hear every word. You let him find out on his own? What the hell were you thinking? I didn't expect him to look. I thought he'd just accept it. Like always. That hit harder than I expected. Like always. So that's how she saw me. A doormat with a pulse. Does Kellen know? Her mom asked. There was a long pause. Then softly, he blocked me. Changed his number. Says he's starting over with someone else. You're alone in this, her mother snapped. And you're gambling with a man who clearly isn't playing anymore. If he files first, you lose everything. Do you understand me? He's bluffing. Her mom's voice dropped to a deadly whisper. No, he's not. He called me. He knew I'd come. That means he's building alliances. That's chess, not checkers. That's when I stepped in. Both their heads snapped toward me as I crossed the threshold. Her mother looked at me like she'd seen a ghost. My wife's face was unreadable. Blank. Then a smirk tugged at her lip. Habitual, automatic. I'm not bluffing, I said. The paperwork's already drafted. All I need is the filing date. Her mother turned to her, furious. What did I say? You've poisoned your own well. You can't fix this. But she didn't flinch. She just stood up, calm again, eerily composed. You think this is going to end in court? She asked me, almost sweetly. You think you'll win the sympathy vote? The poor husband tricked by his evil wife angle? I didn't answer. I let her fill the silence. Well, then I guess I should warn you, she continued, crossing her arms. If I go down, I'm not going alone. I'll say you were emotionally abusive, that you threatened me, that you said if I didn't lie about the baby being yours, you'd hurt me. And you know what the internet loves? A story. I looked at her mother. You're hearing this. You're a witness. She nodded, shell-shocked. I'm hearing it. Then I turned back to her. You think lies win just because they're loud. But you forgot something. Truth doesn't need a show. It just needs evidence. I pulled my phone from my pocket and played the voice memo I'd recorded from 5 minutes ago. The whole conversation. The threats. The strategies. The confession. Her eyes darkened. Her mouth opened, then shut. For the first time, she looked cornered. Her mother just whispered, My God! Still, she tried one last move. You recorded me? That's illegal. Not in this state, I said quietly. Single-party consent. You should have paid more attention when you changed your address. She broke then. Not loudly. No screaming. No theatrics. Just a hard, dry sob, anger, not grief. Humiliation, not sorrow. She stormed into the hallway, slammed the door behind her. Her mother stayed behind. She sat down like her legs had stopped working, looked up at me with glassy eyes and said, I raised her. I thought I taught her better. I didn't know what to say. There was nothing to say. But I did know one thing. She wasn't done. People like her don't surrender. They shift. They scheme. And just when you think you've won, they flip the board. 3 days. That's how long it took. 3 days of silence. Like she'd disappeared inside the house. No calls. No texts. No hallway fights. Just her door closed, blinds down, lights off. But I knew better. That wasn't surrender. That was recalibration. And on the 3rd day it came. A knock at my office door. 2 officers. 1 man, 1 woman. Calm faces. Body cameras already rolling. Are you Kyle? The woman asked. Yes. We received a report of domestic intimidation and verbal threats. We need you to come with us to answer a few questions. It didn't register at first. I stood there trying to process the words. I had no record, no history, no violence. But I didn't need to ask who filed it. I glanced down the hallway. Her door was open now. She stood there, watching, smiling. It wasn't a grin. It was something colder, sharper. Satisfaction without joy. I complied. Of course I did. Answered everything. Told the truth. Showed them the evidence. I had timestamps, voice memos, text screenshots, even the iCloud backup with her video. The female officer looked visibly uncomfortable halfway through my folder of receipts. Has she ever physically assaulted you? She asked. I paused. Once. Open palm. To the face. You reported it? No. I wasn't thinking strategy then. She nodded slowly, and the visit ended without arrest, but not without damage. Because now I was on a report. It didn't matter that I wasn't charged. It existed. A shadow following me into courtrooms, HR offices, background checks. A line in a system that never forgets. That was her play. She didn't need to win. She just needed to make sure I didn't either. That night, I found her in the kitchen again. Same posture. Same calm. Was that supposed to scare me? I asked. No, she said. That was a reminder. You keep pushing, I'll keep pulling. You don't get to walk away clean, Kyle. This is who you are now. She gave the saddest little laugh I'd ever heard from her. No, this is who I've always been. You just didn't see it because I let you love the version of me you built in your head. I should have walked away, but something in me broke open. You used to talk about fate, I said. About soulmates. About having a purpose. She shrugged. People say things when they're bored. You told me you loved me, and you believed it. That's your problem, not mine. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I wrote everything, my full affidavit, names, dates, quotes. I gave it to my lawyer the next morning. I want to be ahead of this, I told him. No counterpunches. I want to file first, and I want my protection in place now. He nodded. Restraining order? Yes, I'm done playing defense. He filed that afternoon, and when the officer arrived at the house to serve her the temporary protective notice, she didn't scream. She didn't cry. She laughed, right to his face. I hope you're ready, she said to me as she took the envelope, because I've only just started. It started with a call from HR. Not an email. A call. Middle of the day. Middle of the week. Tone was flat, but the words weren't. We've received a formal complaint about a situation involving you at home. Due to the seriousness of the claims, we're required to place you on paid administrative leave while we investigate. I didn't ask who filed it. I knew. She was trying to bankrupt me. I sat in my car for an hour after that call, parked in a grocery store lot, watching people go in and out with their plastic bags and small talk, wondering how many of them were carrying their own secret wars in their heads. By the time I got home, she'd already posted something. A vague, manipulative Facebook status. When you survive abuse and your abuser still thinks he can silence you, stay strong, Queens. Some of us are pregnant and still standing tall. No names, no dates, just enough to turn the whispers into wildfire. People started messaging me, coworkers, college friends, even her old yoga instructor who once tried to sell us a crystal for our anniversary. Are you okay? This doesn't sound like you. What's going on? She didn't need proof. She didn't need to name me. She just needed to plant the seed. And in a world trained to believe the first voice that cries victim, her timing was perfect. She knew I wouldn't retaliate online. She was counting on my silence. But this time, I didn't stay quiet. I sent my lawyer everything. The post, the screenshots, the recording. He moved fast, cease and desist letter by the end of the day, and a formal statement sent to my employer outlining the context and providing digital evidence. We couldn't prove malice in court yet, but we could prove inconsistency. And still, that night, she strutted into the kitchen like nothing had happened. She opened the fridge, pulled out a soda, drank it slow. You're not fired, she said, glancing at me. Yet. Why do this? I asked. She closed the fridge slowly and leaned on the counter. Because you embarrassed me. You brought my mother into it. You made me feel small. You are small. She didn't react. Not like a normal person. She just cocked her head and said, You know what's funny? If you had just stayed quiet, played along, claimed the baby, none of this would have happened. You'd still have your job, your friends, your life. That life was built on lies. She smiled. And lies are stable until someone like you starts looking for the truth. I stood there, watching the woman I used to think was the love of my life, and realized something so bitter it made my stomach turn. She hadn't snapped. She'd always been like this. I just never looked deep enough to see it. The next morning, I met with a private investigator. I gave him everything: Kellen's name, photos, dates, locations. I didn't want revenge. I wanted clarity, because if she was willing to fabricate abuse, ruin my name, and sabotage my job, I had to know what else she was hiding. And within 48 hours, I got it. The PI found something buried deep in public records. 2 years ago, during a girl's trip to Miami, she checked into a clinic, not a spa, not a massage place, A clinic that specialized in paternity establishment and DNA testing. Not for our child. For a previous pregnancy. One she never told me about. And the name listed on that file under partner present for testing? Kellen. This wasn't her first affair. This was just the first one that got her caught. I stared at the report in the PI's hands for a long time. Not because I didn't believe it, but because it fit too well. Like a puzzle piece I'd been holding upside down for years, trying to force it into a space it never belonged. 2 years ago, a trip she framed as self-care. A last-minute decision, she said. Bought on a whim because she was burning out. She came back tanned, smiling, distant in a way that felt like she'd left a version of herself behind. I thought it was just the sun and drinks. It was a lie. She'd been pregnant before. By Kellen. And she'd never told me. Never even hinted. The testing records didn't include the result. But the clinic name? Their specialty was paternity confirmation. That means there was a question. And that means it could have been mine. Except it wasn't. She made sure it wasn't. And now, standing in the middle of my garage, holding that report, I felt it click. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a pattern. That evening, I laid the report flat on the dining table. Waited for her to come out of the bedroom. She always came for tea around 8:30. Like clockwork. When she walked in, she saw the envelope before she saw me. "What's this?" she asked. "Proof you've done this before." Her face froze mid-expression, like her mind had hit a wall. She looked down. Didn't open it. She didn't need to. The clinic's name said enough. Then, finally, she whispered, "That wasn't supposed to come out." I waited. She pulled out the chair slowly. Sat across from me. No smugness this time. No condescending tilt of the head. Just a long, tired inhale. "It wasn't yours," she said. "I didn't tell you because I knew it would destroy what we had. And honestly, you were so good. So willing. I didn't want to ruin that." "You aborted it?" She nodded once. "I couldn't have a child with a man who didn't even text me back after the flight." I didn't flinch. Not because it didn't hit, but because I had nothing left in me that could be broken by her anymore. "You were never going to tell me," I said, "even if this baby had been mine." "No," she said softly. "Probably not." We sat in silence. And then she said something I never expected. "I was going to leave you last year." I raised an eyebrow. I packed a bag, got halfway to the airport, called a cab to take me to Kellen's place. I stood at his door. He opened it, saw me and said nothing, just looked through me like I was already a ghost. That's when I knew. Knew what? That I had no backup plan. That you were the only one stupid enough to keep loving me after everything. I leaned in, voice low. "Not anymore." She looked at me, not in anger, in panic. For the first time in this whole slow descent, I saw something real in her eyes. Fear. Not of me, not of consequences, but of irrelevance. Because she knew I was leaving. And this time I wasn't coming back. Later that night, she tried one last tactic. She stood outside my door, barefoot, quiet. "I'll go public," she said softly through the door. "I'll make everyone believe it was you who cheated. You think you have receipts? I have charm. I have people." I opened the door, looked her in the face. "I have court dates, and your mother, and a private investigator. And by tomorrow morning, I'll have your medical records subpoenaed too." Her mouth opened, closed. She walked away, and I began writing my final motion. Because it wasn't just about escaping her anymore. It was about burning the blueprint she used so no one else could ever weaponize love the way she did. The first hearing was procedural, divorce groundwork, asset freeze, custody disclaimers. But she walked in like it was a movie premiere. Hair blown out, muted gray dress that screamed victim. Without saying a word, soft makeup designed to look like she'd been crying for weeks. I didn't say a word when she sat across from me. I didn't need to. My lawyer whispered, "Be prepared." She filed a witness. I raised an eyebrow. "Who?" He didn't answer, because he didn't know. When the judge asked if either party would like to present anything relevant to the status of the marriage, her attorney stood up, polished, smug, trained in theatrics. "We'd like to call a character witness on behalf of the petitioner. Someone close to the respondent. Someone who can speak to his temperament." The double doors opened. and in walked my younger sister. I felt the blood drain from my face. I hadn't spoken to Emily in nearly a year, not because of a fight, but because of distance. She moved out of state, got a new job, a new boyfriend, started her own life. We'd always been close. At least I thought. She didn't look at me when she walked to the stand. She swore in. Saturday. Folded her hands on her lap. Her voice was soft. My brother has always had a temper. He never hit anyone, but he can be intense, overly suspicious, controlling. I stared at her, not blinking, not moving. She continued. He once followed an ex-girlfriend in his car because he thought she was cheating. He read her emails. He's good at hiding it, but when he loses control, he makes everyone around him feel small. My attorney leaned over, whispering furiously. Why wasn't this disclosed? She was never on any of their witness lists. This is ambush testimony. And I just whispered, let her talk, because this wasn't her idea. This was hers. My wife. She'd gotten to Emily, and the longer I watched, the clearer it became. My wife hadn't just turned my life upside down. She'd done it by using my own people as weapons. She found the cracks and wedged herself in like rust. She knew Emily and I hadn't been as close lately. She knew a little attention, a twisted version of the story, and a hint of manipulation could make her feel like she was helping someone who really needed her. After the hearing recessed, I caught up with Emily outside the building. You really believe what you said in there? I asked. She hesitated. She told me things, she said. Things I didn't want to believe. But, Kyle, some of them made sense. You never let people in. You just handle things. Alone. So your solution is to stand in court and back her? She said you refused to claim her baby because it wasn't yours. That you humiliated her. It isn't mine. She didn't answer. And that silence, more than the words she said earlier, told me everything. She wasn't sure. But she had already chosen a side. And now she was in it. When I got home, I sat in the dark for an hour. Not grieving. Not broken. Strategizing. Because this wasn't just about me anymore. She had crossed the line from emotional vandalism to full-blown character assassination. And I wasn't going to let my family become her next trophy. The next morning, I signed off on 2 motions. Petition to invalidate any witness testimony that hadn't been disclosed in pretrial prep. Formal complaint to the judge regarding manipulation of third-party family members with vested emotional history. And then I sent Emily a message. Just 4 words. You'll regret this silence. Because when part 10 begins, so will the exposure. She thought she knew how far I'd go to protect myself. She had no idea how far I'd go to protect the truth. The last hearing wasn't supposed to be dramatic. Just financials and custody disclaimers. Except there was no custody. Because the child wasn't mine. But drama didn't need permission. It only needed pressure. And I was done letting her keep control of the narrative. My lawyer had compiled everything. The video with Kellen, the clinic records, the voice memos, the social media posts, and most importantly, the subpoenaed DNA test that proved the unborn child had a 0% biological match with me. She had pushed too far for too long. And now there were no more walls to hide behind. But she still walked into court like a queen entering a party thrown in her honor. She wore white. The irony was so thick you could cut it. She didn't even look at me, just took her seat and crossed her legs like she was posing for a magazine profile. The judge opened with the basics. Then came the witness challenges. My lawyer stood up and said, Your Honor, we'd like to contest the validity of testimony from Ms. Emily Reynolds on the grounds of improper predisclosure and personal conflict. Furthermore, we'd like to submit into record a timeline of manipulation and communication that indicates the respondent's wife directly influenced and recruited this witness through misrepresentation. He submitted the text log. Screenshots from my sister's phone. She hadn't deleted them. She had no idea how the law worked. The judge reviewed them, looked up. This witness will be stricken. Her testimony holds no weight in these proceedings. My wife didn't react, but I saw her fingers curl slightly around the edge of her seat. Then it was my turn. I took the stand not to defend myself but to finish the damn story. I didn't rant. I didn't insult. I told the court exactly what had happened. Step by step. Betrayal. Lies. Manipulation. Attempts to defame me professionally. The slap. The false police report. And finally, her goal to force me to raise a child that wasn't mine. My voice didn't shake. Then my lawyer dropped the final blow. We have here the results of the court-ordered DNA paternity test, signed and verified. The respondent is not the father of the unborn child. Furthermore, the petitioner's own correspondence confirms awareness of this fact well in advance of disclosure. He handed the envelope to the judge. And then silence. Courtrooms are never loud. But this was different. This was the silence of a lie collapsing in front of too many eyes. My wife didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just sat there, blinking, like a glitching screen that couldn't load. The judge spoke. Given the evidence, the fraudulent attempts to assign paternity, the emotional manipulation documented in recordings, and the deliberate sabotage of the respondent's personal and professional life, I am granting the divorce with full separation of assets in favor of the respondent. Then came the final line. The petitioner is ordered to assume all costs related to her false claims, including attorney fees. It was over, just like that. When we left the courthouse, she didn't follow me. She didn't speak to the press. She didn't look at anyone. I don't know if shame hit her, or if it was just finally losing that broke the performance. As for Emily, I haven't spoken to her since. She sent a message after the ruling. I didn't know. I'm sorry, but some doors don't unlock again. Not even with keys. I changed my number, cleared out the house, put it on the market, and for the first time in what felt like years, I slept without a knot in my chest. This wasn't just a divorce. This was an exorcism. What did I learn? That some people don't lie to hurt you. They lie because they need the lie more than the truth. And if you don't wake up, they'll drag you down into their fantasy and make you the villain when you finally crawl out. My advice? Love who you want, but never stop watching who they become when they think you're not looking. And for the record, no, I will never sign that birth certificate. And thank God I didn't.